Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Who's Who Storytime. And this week we are going to discuss a farmer whose name is Will Allen, and he was a former professional basketball player who became an urban farmer and was an advocate for urban farming, which means he helped create farms in cities where you wouldn't really see farmland. He saw it and he created these beautiful gardens of fresh fruit and fresh vegetables so that people in cities had access to fresh food. That's pretty awesome. The book we're reading about him is called Farmer Will Allen and the Growing Table. It was written by Jacqueline Briggs Martin and illustrated by Eric Shabazz Larkin. And Jacqueline Briggs Martin wrote Snowflake Bentley. So if you read Snowflake Bentley, you should check this one out too. And we're gonna look at the back of the book. And we have some great resources. So if you want to learn more about Will Allen and his farm, we have some great resources of how to start an urban farm, which is pretty awesome. So they have books, they have movies, they have some YouTube videos that you can check out all at the back of this book. And then we have a note from the author about her journey with farming and growing up on a dairy farm. And we have an afterword, which I'm not sure if we've talked about before. An afterword is kind of like a forward. Now, if a forward is before the book starts, and afterward, you probably guessed it, is after the book ends. And Will Allen actually wrote this afterword. And it's all about he's addressing you, the reader. He's addressing you, the farmer. He's addressing you, the eater, if you eat food. This letter's for you. And so he just talks about why he loves farming and what he wishes this book will do for you. So let's read it. Farmer Will Allen and the Growing Table. Okay. Farmer Will Allen is as tall as his truck. He can hold a cabbage or a basketball in one hand. When he laughs, everyone laughs, glad to be in his crew. When he talks, everyone listens. But some say the special thing about Will Allen is that he can see what others can't see. Are they right? When he looked at an abandoned city lot and saw a huge table heaped with food, was he right? When Will Allen was a boy, bowls of peas, greens, and his favorite lima beans with ham covered his kitchen table. My mother often fixed enough food for 30. Will says, we never had a car or TV, but we always had good food. He remembers people who'd come to dinner tired and drooped, and they would leave laughing. Will's family grew most of their food. Will loved the food, but hated the work. He planned to quit on planting, picking, pulling weeds, leave those Maryland fields for basketball or white shirt work. And he did. He graduated from college and moved to Belgium to play professional basketball. When a Belgian friend asked him to help dig potatoes, Will realized he loved digging in the dirt. He grew so much food that he and his wife Cindy covered their kitchen table with Thanksgiving dinner for a team of basketball friends. You see how the potatoes turn into basketballs? The basketballs turn into potatoes. When Will was done with basketball, he worked a white shirt job in Wisconsin and found time to grow vegetables on Cindy's parents' land. But Will wanted his own place. He'd seen that fresh vegetables were as scarce in the city as trout in the desert. Will believed everyone, everywhere, had a right to good food. But how could Will farm in the middle of pavement and parking lots? One day, driving in Milwaukee, Will spotted 6 empty greenhouses on a plot of land about the size of a large supermarket. For sale! He could see kids who'd never eaten a ripe tomato, never crunched a raw green bean, sitting at his table eating his vegetables. Will Allen bought that city lot. Will had a start on his table. He had the land, but the table was empty. The problem was Will's soil, dirty with chemicals and pollution. He had no money for machines to dig out the bad soil, for truckloads of good soil. What to do? In Belgium, Will had learned to make good soil with food garbage. They called it composting. But he needed lots of garbage. He asked his friends to save food waste, apple peels to old zucchinis. Will collected those scraps in big white buckets and dumped them into piles. He added hay, leaves, newspaper, red wiggly worms, and water. Every now and then he turned the piles to get air into the mix. Neighborhood kids stopped by to ask what was he doing. Will told them about the piles and the red wiggler worms that would help the garbage become compost. The kids came back day after day to help. Then one day, bad news! The red wiggler crew was dying. Will and the kids studied worms for 5 years. They learned not to feed the worms too much, and they discovered the best menu for red wigglers. No hot peppers, no onions, no garlic. Lots of watermelon rinds, sweet potato scraps, and molasses. Since then, the squirmy crew had stayed hard at work. Will says worm magic is what makes his farm grow. Did you know that worms eat sweet potatoes? I didn't. Once Will had good soil, he was ready to plant vegetables, but he didn't have much space. How could he grow enough food on a small city plot? Will Allen looked around. He saw that he had all the space from the soil under his feet to the top of the greenhouses. He hung plant baskets from the ceiling. He grew greens in buckets, greens in rows. He crowded shelves with pots of spinach, chard, lettuce. He grew stacks of tiny salad sprouts in boxes, hundreds of boxes. Will added hoop houses to hold more boxes and more long rows of vegetables. He added vats of water and fish to his greenhouses. Fish wastewater grows the sprouts. Did you know that? I didn't. The sprouts clean the water for the fish. Fish, water, sprouts work together like a 3-part farm machine. He added goats, chickens, turkeys, and bees to that city farm he named Growing Power. Farmer Will's work clothes are jeans and a blue sweatshirt with cut-off sleeves. He's busy from early morning to night. Still, one person could never grow all the food Will wanted to grow. Where could he find more farmers in the middle of a city? Will looked around. He saw teenagers, school children, parents, grandparents. He taught them to be farmers. Then Will's table held as much as several supermarkets, thousands of pounds of food. Neighbors who lived in high-rises far off the growing ground came and still come to Will's farm to buy fresh vegetables, fish, or eggs. People have gone, and still go, to fancy restaurants to eat Will's food. But Will wanted his table to feed folks all over the world. How could he build one huge table that crossed continents? Will thought about the problem of the world-sized table. He looked around and saw his many helpers who'd learned to be farmers. He would teach people everywhere to grow food for their own tables. Will Allen began to travel. He has crisscrossed the United States showing others how to farm in the city, and he has taken his red wigglers to Kenya, to London, all over the world. The world has also come to his Milwaukee farm. 20,000 visitors a year tour the greenhouses, watch goats, snack on greens, and go home planning to start a farm on a city lot a rooftop, or an abandoned highway? Is Will Allen done? Never! We need 50 million more people growing food on porches, in pots, in side yards, he says. Will is looking for new ways to make the table bigger. More schoolyard plots, a vertical farm that's 5 stories high. Farms and empty factories or warehouses. Will Allen dreams of a day when city farms are as common as streetlights and every table is covered with good food. Will Allen can see what others can't see. When he sees kids like you, he sees farmers. Will you be on Will Allen's crew? Will you grow vegetables for your family, your neighbors, on your porch, on your roof, in your yard? How big will your table be? You see what the Statue of Liberty's holding? Those are some beets or radishes. I think they're beets. And that's the end of the book. If you're someone who loves to garden or wants to learn how to garden, I highly suggest checking out this book and then looking at the back of the book at the resources so you can check out even more books about how to grow an urban garden, which could be on your front porch, it could be in your backyard or in your driveway or in your parking lot. You can grow food anywhere. That's pretty cool. I know a bunch of my friends grew potatoes and leeks on their fire escapes recently. How cool is that? You can grow food anywhere. And Will Allen and Farmer Will Allen and the Growing Table might be your first step to learn. So check out this book for curbside pickup. And I hope to see you next week for another Who's Who story time. Okay, see you soon. Bye.